call to order the meeting of the Salem School Committee of March 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. This meeting is taking place in person in the school committee chambers at Collins Middle School and also available via Zoom using the link posted in the meeting agenda. The first item of business for our meeting is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Miranda. Under discussion, seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Our next item is public comment. The Salem School Committee would like to hear from the public on issues that affect the school district and are within the scope of the committee's responsibilities. Spanish interpretation is available for anyone who needs it. The members of the school committee would like to remind the public that Salem Public School students regularly attend school committee meetings. We encourage all meeting participants to model respectful and productive public discourse for our young learners. Is there any public comment in the chambers? If there's any public comment on Zoom, you can use the raise hand function.
Nobody raised a hand, but we have a descendant of Sarah Parker Ramon in the chat. So I can allow them to speak.
Does he wish to speak?
They should be able to speak now.
Hello.
Hello? We can hear you. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you. Would you like to provide any public comment to the school committee?
Can you hear me?
I just wanted to make a comment on behalf of the family about how exciting this all is for us. You are responsible for getting rid of overdue acknowledgement for the Raymond family. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any further comment online? Okay. Our next item of business is approval of the consent agenda. These are the minutes of the school committee meeting of February 9th and the special school committee meeting of February 9th. Approval of a field trip to Canterbury Lake Park for the Carleton 4th and 5th grade students, and warrants of February 5th, February 12th, February 19th, and February 26th.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Hoffman. Under discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Vote is unanimous. Student representatives report. Do you have a report from somebody?
Yeah, Ms. Sula could not be here tonight. She is feeling ill, so I just have a couple updates. We did meet with the student advisory. It was my last meeting with them, sadly, because that's a group that I really value meeting with. We talked about a few different things. First, they brought a special guest who was circulating a petition about changing the start time at Salem High School. They would like it to start later. But there was a robust discussion about, what's that? No, well, yes, your child was interested in that. But there was a pretty robust discussion about the different, the pros and cons of it, around sports and other activities, even the music activities end late, and they were concerned about everything starting later. And so we had a good conversation. They seemed in the end to be pretty split as a group. This petition was brought by a ninth grader who was not part of the advisory group, but was invited by her friends, which we encourage that level of participation. And it was very thoughtful. I did encourage the student to feel free to send it to the superintendent or the school committee to take a look at. But I do think there's a lot more discussion that would need to happen because of things like early college, sports, music and arts. Traffic is obviously in the equation as well. So that was discussed. We also got some feedback about the dinner options after school, and Michaela, our food service director, wanted to get more input from the students around the dinner options and what was working and what wasn't working. I think by and large the students loved the dinner options. They just wanted to be able to select more. They were only allowed one choice, and they wanted all the choices, not just the smoothie, but the smoothie and the food. I think you have to choose one or the other, so that came up. And then Ms. Pauley presented the budget presentation that we've been giving to the public, and got some feedback from the students about the budget, although I think a lot of it was focused on, they did have a number of questions. They are very supportive of some of the transportation recommendations that we're making. So we heard from them about that again. We also talked about the superintendent transition. Deputy Superintendent Carboni was there, Assistant Superintendent Pauley, and we made the decision that Assistant Superintendent Pauley and Laura Assad would continue to work with the students because they have relationships. Elizabeth seems to find her way in front of those students all the time, as do Laura. I think they love that part of their job, and so they want to continue that, but also because the focus on newcomers and welcoming newcomers is very much in line to the work that Laura is doing across the district. So we will continue to be meeting with they will continue to be meeting with the students monthly, and they're already talking about elections for next year and revising their bylaws for the future. So that was the extent of the meeting, and we also talked about trying to bring the school committee together with them. I do think it would be great if school committee members could actually come to the meeting, which are the superintendent meets with them once a month, the first Monday of every month from 1 to 2:30. So that's really the best time. And feel free to reach out to me or to the interim superintendent about if you'd like to participate in one of those sessions. All right.
Great.
That is my update.
All right. And now we have your update.
Oh, now my real update. Okay. All right. So there's a lot on this agenda tonight. I think if we could start with the presentation there, Carlos, that would be great. That has multiple parts. I don't know if there's a clicker, but what's that? No, my presentation.
Yours first?
Well, no, actually,
Which presentation?
what do you have there first?
You're up first.
Okay, whatever you put up there, Carlos, first. We'll go with that.
So this one.
This is that.
Okay, I guess it's my updates. Okay. So I have a series of updates that I wanted to share with the school committee, building on some conversations that we had at the last meeting. So if we can go to the next slide. Oh, thank you. Okay. So the first is about New Liberty and Salem Prep. So I am recommending formally now that Salem Prep and New Liberty move to the Carleton School Building for the 26-27 school year. So that is a formal recommendation. I know that that's probably not a secret to anybody, and that we discussed this at the last school committee meeting. There were some questions about Salem Prep and where Salem Prep should be moving to. But after discussion, we met during February vacation, and we had some discussions about concerns about students. If we moved Salem Prep to Salem High School, we didn't think it was necessarily an appropriate fit for many students who did not necessarily have the best experience at Salem High School and had concerns about the size of the school. And so there was a discussion about maybe that wasn't the most appropriate fit, not for all students, but certainly a percentage of them. There was some concerns regarding the quality of the space at Salem High School. It's not that the space is really no different than any of the spaces at Salem High School, but the Carleton space is a better space than a building that's going to be coming down in the next few years, hopefully. And the idea that they would actually have a full floor or a larger area to operate that was their own, as opposed to just a smaller section of the building at Salem High School. I think we felt that it would communicate a little more respect to the students and to the school, that they would have we think a higher quality space at Carleton. And then there might need to be some revisions to IEPs based on the way IEPs were written and given that some students who were placed at Salem Prep, again, were leaving Salem High School. And so in conversations with our Director of Special Education, who's here, and with Lisa O'Neill, who's the principal of the school, in the end, we felt that the best option was to move to the Carlton building. And I'll just share a little more. We toured the building last week. A number of us who are on this dais here, but also members from the two schools. We had our facilities team, we had our IT team there, just to look at the space to see how we would, organize the two schools there. New Liberty, we felt, was better suited for the first floor. They're the bigger school. They would probably need to use the entirety of the first floor. They felt comfortable with, they were very excited about what that space would offer them. The second floor, we felt in talking with the principal that they really would only need about half of the second floor. They didn't want too much space because they don't really need that much, but they needed enough for meeting space, offices, classrooms, and areas for them to convene. We would need to put some dividers up so that the floor, we wouldn't want them to access the whole floor or spaces that were not necessary to access. But the majority of about half of the floor at Salem Prep would utilize. We would have a separate entrance for the school. And if you look at my photo and where the arrow is, there would be a separate entrance on Burnside Road. And that would be an entrance where they would not actually have to cross into the New Liberty space. There could be a desk for they have a clerk-ish position that they utilize there, and that they could greet people there, and then the students could go right up the stairs without having to access the first floor. But at the same time, there are shared spaces that both schools would use. The gymnasium, we'd want both schools to utilize that, and we'd also want them to utilize the cafeteria space. They might want to do something with the media center, potentially, library, but certainly the gym and the cafeteria would be spaces that we would want both schools to access. And so I think we left feeling really strongly about the spaces for both schools. There would need to be a lot of work done. I think Lisa the New Liberty staff was interested in making sure the mirrors were the right height for students, but there does not need to be any toilet replacements. And when we looked at the toilets and the bathrooms, they're appropriate for the age and the size of the kids. Obviously, the furniture would be coming from their current school, but there wouldn't need to be a lot of work. We would need some dividers on the second floor just to make sure that and we could, we might use some of it for storage up there, but by and large, there's not a lot of work that would need to be done. We would also need to do work with the just the entrance, just to make sure that we have the same entrance hardware that we have for all the schools, so that Salem Prep would have a separate entrance. I don't know if there's anything you would want to add, Elizabeth or Kate, based on our visit, but I feel very strongly that this is a good move, and I'm asking for the school committee to vote on this evening. I don't know if there's anything. Okay.
Any questions from members before we move on? Member Bias?
So is this going to be permanent, Dr. Zweig, or do you think they'll be moving again?
I think that's a question for you all on the school committee. I think I'm making the recommendation for next school year. I think there is more discussion that would be needed long term. We are obviously still talking to, as you know, we have been talking to Salem State about at least New Liberty moving to Salem State. We just don't have the resources to make that happen right now. But I think I'm recommending just for the upcoming school year, and I think that's something the school committee will need to revisit. Obviously, we are saving quite a bit on the lease. As you know, it's $330,000. And to be able to utilize and be the landlord of our own space, I think, is a huge step. I mean, we don't have to go in, you all know what the challenges have been with the mall as well. Mm-hmm. I think there was urgency at this point. I think I feel like I've been hearing it every year for the last 3 or 4 years, rightfully so, that we needed to move, and I'm pleased that we have a solution, at least for next year. And, who knows, it could be longer depending on what the committee wants to do.
Any other questions? Yeah. Member Stott.
Thank you. My question was around the lease. I think there might have been conversations that I missed there, but so we are able to I just, more for budgetary questions. I know myself personally, I need to learn more about the prep and the New Liberty and their models, and I would agree with your recommendation for the next year, but also agree that a larger conversation needs to happen about the future of these two programs. For this coming year, though, I'm assuming analysis has been done on cost savings for the lease compared to how much it would cost to like winterize/mothball the school versus the upgrades that need to be done and adding the staff back into the school that we just removed, so I'm curious if that analysis is done, and it sounds like we're able to leave the lease at the mall, or is that still a topic that's up?
To the first part of your question, we are anticipating a savings of about $330,000 from the rent at the mall. We are also anticipating being able to leave our lease at the end of the school year. And so that is an ongoing conversation. So I think there is if I would add to the superintendent's recommendation, I think there is a financial advantage to moving the schools out of the mall. And I think there is also a programmatic advantage to moving them into the Carlton building, which comes with a gym and a cafeteria and their own separate entrances. So I think the budget is a big reason, but not the only reason.
I think it's a win on both fronts, to your point. It's a financial win, and it's, as you say, a programmatic win, yeah. One recommendation I would just make before we move from this topic is I do think, and we've talked about this, there needs to be a discussion throughout the course of next year about our alternative programs. I think we have strong alternative programs, but I think the needs of students have shifted, and they continue to shift. And we need to make sure our programs meet the needs of the children in the system. And since COVID, there's been a lot of changes. And I think it's a good moment to take a pause and talk about the different programs we offer, including the fact that we don't have an alternative program at the middle school level. And I do think that now that we have one large middle school, I think it is worth having a conversation about what our alternative programming looks like. I mean, there's obviously a cost to running the schools. I think there's a lot of successes that both Salem Prep and New Liberty have had. But I do think before we make any, I know we talked about different scenarios about Salem Prep, whether we were going to sunset the program or not. But I think before any of that's done, we got to really do a deeper dive around both that, New Liberty, and whether we want to extend programming to at least the middle school level, because I do think there's a need there, and I worry about too many students that are excluded from the regular program. And I'm grateful that we have high school models, but I think we should look at maybe developing a middle school model, because the large middle school doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And we talked about that last year when we talked about closing the closing Saltonstall's Middle School. And so I think we need to revisit just the different alternative programs we have. So.
Any further questions on the New Liberty Salem Prep? Seeing none.
Okay. The next item is Essex Tech. And this is a presentation I've been wanting to give for years. But finally, I was allowed to give this presentation. No, I'm just kidding. So I do think there's an important. I think it's important for the school committee, especially as we head into budget season, to think about the Essex Tech agreement that we have. And in your packet, you have a copy of the regional agreement that we have with Essex Tech. And there's a long history with that relationship and the terms of that agreement. What I wanted to point out is that in FY26, which is this current school year, we send about $2.5 million in tuition to Essex Tech for 136 students. That's this current school year. 83 out of those students are in programs that we offer at Salem High School. And so that represents approximately $1.24 million. I mean, these are approximations. I did the math the best I could on this. And that's for pathways that we already invest in at Salem High School. And I think one of the things that I've long felt is that we over the last 5 years we've worked hard in the high school, and Principal Burns and Mr. Sousa have worked hard to strengthen our CTE programs, and then obviously we're building a new high school where we are going to have what I hope to be this, state-of-the-art facilities, and our kids are going to have the access to the spaces and the programming that has already improved quite a bit, but will even be stronger when the spaces match. And so I have some questions about continued participation in the regional partnership, and I think that's something the school committee should discuss and reflect on as we move forward. According to the agreement, you can only withdraw from the partnership with a vote from the city council, and the member is still liable for unpaid operating costs, and then any portion of outstanding debt. For instance, on the existing building, the Essex Tech building is a newer project, so Salem has does pay for some of those capital costs. But ultimately, the school committee would work with the city council and would notify the Department of Education, the commissioner, and request what's called a reorganization needs conference, which I don't know anything about. I've never seen that actually happen, but that's what they're asking. That's what the language states. And then ultimately, the city council would have to vote to take Salem out of the regional agreement. Now, I know there is a need for extensive discussion about this. I'm just merely pointing out that as we talk about dwindling resources, trying to make sure that our schools get the supports that they need to thrive, right? This is a place where, I think as a city, there's an opportunity to reinvest some of these dollars into the programming that we already have in the Salem Public Schools, and to continue to strengthen those programs. Obviously, the Essex Tech has a great reputation. There's families that have chosen that school for over the years from Salem and from local communities. But there is a high demand in the North Shore for those programs, and we're very, very fortunate. We're one of the few high schools in the North Shore that has career and technical programs, vocational programs. Even the ones that don't have as many programs as we do. We'll have 10 in the new high school if it's built, which is way more than what Peabody and Gloucester have. And then the rest of the high schools don't have the programming that we offer. And so we have the ability to offer quite a bit to our kids. 2/3 of our students are taking CTE classes now. And so I don't think Salem students want for that access, like maybe they do in other communities. And so I just I wanted to share this information this evening so that the school committee could keep this on their agenda, certainly as we move. It wouldn't be for this year's budget, but it could be for next year's budget as we think about how we use resources. I'll stop there.
Any questions on this topic for the superintendent? Yeah, Member Cornell.
Dr. Zweig, can you just explain the process by which Essex Tech sets targets for the various participating districts? Student targets.
Yeah, you mean in terms of enrollment?
Yes.
Okay, so that's new this year. Mayor, feel free to jump in because you know just as much as I do. Okay. Well, so the targets are set based on the number of total students that we have. Well, let me back up for a second. Essex Tech just moved to a lottery for the first time. Mm-hmm. For the longest time, it wasn't a lottery. It was based on an application process, which I have long felt was inequitable. And so I'm happy that there was a move to a lottery. They chose to move to a non-weighted lottery. So it's a lottery just like Salem Academy has, charter schools have for students. The number of seats that they target is linked to the percentage of the enrollment of the district to the overall district. So Essex Tech is fed by 17 communities. And I think our number of seats was 52, I think, right? And I think our percentage of that overall was 10%, roughly. And so they set our number based on how large Salem is relative to the other 17 communities that feed into the tech. And so that's where our number was set this year. There was just a straight lottery, and the first 52 names from Salem will get a seat there. If they decline, then they move to the other kids on the wait list from Salem, and they do that for each of the communities. There was a lot of, in Salem's case, our number has stayed pretty consistent all along. Communities like Danvers, Peabody, and Beverly were very frustrated because the number of seats that the number of kids they were sending was much higher than their overall percentage in the sending communities. Our number has stayed pretty consistent, and actually we have seen a decline over time of kids going to Essex Tech, which isn't a bad thing. But it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics after this first-time lottery, because it was always a selective school. I mean, it truly was a selective enrollment school, and for the first time, any child who applied had the same chance as anybody else to get in. And so we'll see what that does for Salem's numbers, the demographics. I think I've shared at different times that the demographics of kids going to Essex Tech from Salem were not reflective of our overall population in terms of ML students with disabilities, and low-income students did not reflect the overall, because frankly many of those students weren't getting in because it's hard to interview when English isn't your first language, or if you had a lot of absences because you were homeless, you never had a chance to get in. So a lot of inequities, and we'll have to see what this shift to a lottery does for the tech moving forward.
The only thing I would add to that is that I think the lottery number, that 50 some odd seats, is a minimum, not a maximum.
That's right.
So there is a scenario in which it's not likely, because as Dr. Streck mentioned, we are, I think with our Chapter 74 programs, doing a good job of retaining our students who are interested in technical and vocational education in district. But it's not a cap, which makes it from a planning standpoint really problematic, because it's hard to know if next year it'll be 60 students or next year it'll be 50 students, and that affects our ability to financially forecast what the cost would be. That depends on the students that are the seats that are filled in from other communities in the district.
Yeah, and just so the school committee knows, what happens in other parts of the state as well is that if you're not part of a regional agreement, students can only go to vocational schools in programs that you don't offer. So, for instance, in the last district where I was superintendent, we had a vocational school, and we were not part of a regional agreement. That's a little unusual that you have like Salem has its own programs and is part of a regional agreement. Students can always go to Essex Tech for agriculture, for what they call the ag cluster, which is the programs that Essex is the North Shore, or is the northern part of the state's school for agriculture. So kids are automatically can be accepted for animal science, agriculture, horticulture, anything related to ag. The agriculture cluster is what they call it. But otherwise, in most communities, you can only, in a community that has its programs, the school district has to sign off if you're going to attend a program that the district already offers. And so you can only really apply. So if you wanted to do cosmetology and you were set on doing cosmetology, we don't offer cosmetology, right? Then a student could apply, and as a district, we would have to allow them to pursue that, but not in the programs we already offer. And so, again, that's what's unique here, is that we have our programs and students can go even if it's for programs we already offer. And so that's why from the moment I got here, I was confused as to why that was the case. But it's because we are part of this regional agreement that allows Salem residents to attend regardless of what program they ultimately end up going to.
Member Cornell.
And if we're assuming our new high school is getting built, if we were to pull out of this agreement, we could add programs that, if we wanted to.
Well, you'd have to apply to the state. There's a process for
Right,
that.
okay.
And if it's a program that Essex offers, you have to get their approval, which in fairness to Essex, they have been very gracious because we have applied in the past for programs they already have. But you have to get their approval and you have to get the Department of Ed's
So
approval
even if we're not in the agreement, we still need to get their approval
for programs that they offer.
that they offer.
If we were to duplicate something they offered, we would have to get their blessing to do that. If it was not, if it was a program that neither of us offered, then we would just apply to the Department of Education for Chapter 74 designation.
And I did at some point ask Mario Souza to give me some data about which programs Salem students are in at Essex Tech, and I'm trying to find it in an email, and I can't, but I think that would be really useful email information
that to
for
the
all of
committee.
the members to have,
Sure.
so we can just sort of see it. I certainly wouldn't want to limit our students' ability to participate in something like, their agriculture programs, which we're obviously not going to be developing. But if we have a new high school, we're going to have space, there might be opportunities that don't currently exist. But I would like to see where our students' interests lie. From what I recall, most students were participating in areas of study that we already have.
Well, that's the number here. Sorry, do you
Yeah.
mind if I speak? It's 60, what is it? 61%.
83 of the 136.
But I can send the list to I can send it to the committee so you can actually see the programs, taking out the kids' names. All right.
Let's move on.
All right, and then finally, I did want to just share in my updates, we have some good news around our high school graduation and dropout rates, and I want to really give a shout out to our high schools, not just our high schools, but it's all our staff. This data lags by a year, so this is last year's graduation numbers and dropout numbers, because obviously we're in the midst of this year right now. So it comes out. It just came out last week. And what's exciting is we had the second highest rates in Salem Public Schools and Salem High School history. And for Latino students, it was the second highest rate we've ever had. And at New Liberty, it was their highest in history for graduation rates, which is a real credit to the work that school is doing with kids. I mean, the numbers are astonishing. I mean, they had they've had graduation rates of 30% and lower in the past, and this year they were at 69.2%, which is I don't think there's many alternative high schools in the state that have that data. And then we had record rates for multilingual learners, and when I say tied, it was tied for the highest for low-income students. In Salem Public Schools, our Latino students have a higher graduation rate than white students, which I have never seen in my career. It's pretty remarkable, and this community should be very proud of that. I mean, we want everybody to have high. I don't care what their background is, but it is. To have a graduation rate of 87% for multilingual learners is really remarkable, and a credit to all our educators who build strong relationships with kids. We do have work to do. I think our students with disabilities is our lowest number, and it's something that we haven't seen the same level of increase for our students with disabilities. The other number that's not here, our homeless students have a low graduation rate, and our foster students. The numbers aren't large, but still significant. And as you can imagine, those are a transient population that we need to do better by. And that data is available online as well. There wasn't enough room to put all of it on here. But I do want to shout out our high school teams across the board, Salem Prep, New Liberty, and Salem High School, because it is really remarkable, and you could see the improvement year upon year. I do think they know the kids by name. They go to homes, they make calls. They are pretty and very aggressive, because you have until October 1st of the year after the summer in which they graduate to re-engage kids and to make sure that they get their diploma. For dropout rates, it's the second lowest rates in Salem Public Schools and Salem High School history. And New Liberty, it's their lowest in history. And actually, well, I won't get into it, but the data on New Liberty, the state doesn't have it accurate, but I'm not going to, it's still the lowest even with the inaccurate data, so it's even better in real life. But it is, again, you can see the improvements. You can see that, again, students with disabilities is where I would be concerned. We have a 4% dropout rate with students with disabilities, which means that the majority of the dropouts are students with IEPs. So even though the number has declined significantly, we have to look at our students with disabilities as a concern. And obviously, and our Latino Hispanic numbers are strong, but our multilingual learner and low-income dropout rate is higher than the district average. So just something for us to pay attention to, but you can see the decline over the last 5 years. And I'm happy to report that just even looking at this year, we're on pace to do even better than this. Because we have a dashboard that looks at individual kids, so I can see in a moment's time who the dropouts are. And we have an opportunity to re-engage them before October 1 of 2026. If we bring them back, they're not considered a dropout. And so it means that there's work to do all year long to re-engage kids who may have dropped out. We do work with Youth Build, so some students do go to Youth Build. And so while a Youth Build student is not considered a graduate, they are not considered a dropout. So they don't graduate from high school because they get their equivalency, but they are not considered a dropout because they were able to get their GED. And so we work, certain kids, maybe high school isn't the right spot, but we want them to move forward, get their GED, and Youth Build does an excellent job of supporting young people, and so we've been able to work with them on some students as well. That's also helped our dropout rate as well. So I'll stop there. I think this is exciting data, but we'll take any questions that people have before we transition to other speakers here tonight.
Questions? Member Miranda.
I just wanted to ask if you can speak to what you think has led to these significant shifts.
I think we know the kids by name, and we look. We sit and talk about individual kids at different times of the year. And now, for instance, when Glenn and Jamal come to meet with me, they have their list of kids, and we talk about, okay, what strategy have we used to re-engage this student? I think the work we've done as a district around, having alternative or support programs like the community school program that Salem High has that's provided after-school support. We've started a night school component at Salem High School too to help kids who are juniors and seniors that are almost there, but they're starting to disengage before they drop out. I mean, Eric Farley has done a great job at Salem High School with that. And then, New Liberty and Salem Prep have really gotten focused also on that. I'm not saying that I think before kids would go there and it was almost like it wasn't surprising if a student then, they struggled at Salem High, they go to New Liberty, and then they'd struggle and then they drop out. I think New Liberty has really taken it upon themselves to make sure that it's a badge of honor to we're not going to let anybody drop out of here. And they've also created, I think, more engaging programs. They have kids on internships there. They have kids who are taking early college classes. Kids respond when the opportunities are exciting in school. When school's boring, they leave. And I think some of the CTE programs have helped, more advanced coursework, having even more APs, kids taking more advanced classes, sends a message I can do this, right? As opposed to, as opposed to this idea that they're in remediation or lower level classes. I think the mindset and the culture have shifted around expectations for kids and the opportunities that they have. So I think it's been a whole mindset shift on the part of all those schools that has really led to this. And you have to know kids by name. It's not that many kids, so 30. We have every year we fluctuate between 15 to 30 kids who are back and forth. That's not a lot of kids to actually go knock on doors, and that's what our staff has done, and I give them a lot of credit for that. So,
any other questions on the Graduation dropout. Nope. All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Carlos, you can take that down. All right, and before we get to the health grant update, which will be next, I did leave you the last part of my evaluation, which is he's waving it off over here, but it is the last part of my evaluation for last year, which is my goals that I hadn't given you last time, so you have a copy of those. I will email them to you so you have them electronically as well.
Member Cornell.
I already sent them, I believe.
No. This is this is my assessment of my goals. So I will email them to everybody. And with that, I think Ellen Wingard is going to join us on stage here for the health grant, and I'll pass it over to Kate.
Just very quickly, we actually have 3 members of our team here tonight to give the committee an update on a slice of our comprehensive health programming. We're going to give you a deep dive into one of the grants that is supporting a variety of aspects of our overall health program. So we're not giving you the big picture. If we were going to do that, we'd need more than 10 slides and probably maybe a committee of the whole, right? Because there's a lot of information. But this is an interesting grant, and we wanted to provide some updates. So we have Ellen Wingard, who is our Executive Director of Student Supports. We have Sonia Lowe, who's our Executive Director of Academics. And over there, Alyssa Irving, thank you. Smith Irving. And she is a health teacher and serving as our health coordinator. She does some of the professional development on our PD days. And I will not steal any of their thunder and turn it over to Ellen.
You stole a minute off of our 10 minutes, Kate.
But there are only 10. Well, there's 13 slides, but there's some transitional slides, so they really don't count.
We take that very seriously. Steve, do you have the clicker?
Oh, yes.
Great. Just go ahead and thank you. All right, thank you so much. We're excited to be here and share some really cool things that are happening in the wellness world for our students and our families. And so This icon you may have seen before if you've been with us. If you haven't, let me just orient you to it. Salem Public Schools takes a whole child, whole community, whole school approach. We're guided by the CDC's framework, as well as the Massachusetts state standards for health and physical education. And so if you look at the whole child approach, you see that it really encompasses a lot of different things. And you'll see also, if you think about the different people and the different departments that touch this work, it's really multidisciplinary. When we talk about holistic wellness, we're not talking about just the student supports or just what happens in health class or PE or what happens in the community. It really is all together. And so it challenges us, and we're lucky to have a small collegial district to be able to work together to really think about a comprehensive approach to wellness and health. And it's really great that we like each other because we're working together all the time across department lines. So this grant that we're going to highlight tonight really gives us a slice, a window into how we are able to work together to promote some of the really exciting and impactful initiatives and practices that we've been able to really solidify with the funds from this grant. So this grant is called Promoting Safe and Healthy Learning Environments, Elevating Student Voice and Well-Being. And that jams a bunch of educational jargon in one phrase, but overall it promotes about 5 different buckets of work. So our 21st Century Community Learning Center high school internships, our comprehensive health and physical education work. Part of the grant supports our newcomer and homeless population, our service learning and social emotional learning academic integration, and also our YPAR, our youth participatory action research. So in total, over the last 2 years, we've been awarded $312,000, which has supported the work across those goals. I'm going to invite Sonia up to kick off the next portion of a little bit of this grant.
Great, thanks, Ellen.
All right, so I just wanted to speak briefly about some of the goals for this grant. So a key focus of the grant really has been providing access to high quality instructional materials around health education. So that's been a huge focus that Alyssa is going to speak to, what that work has looked like in the 6 through 12 landscape, particularly around vertical alignment. Another thing about the grant is that it does require grantees to select a professional development provider from providers that are recommended by DESE. And so what you'll hear from Alyssa is about some of the ways that we've engaged with that partner to really develop our educators and their ideas about how to implement the health standards, which were rewritten recently. So that's all I have to add for that. I will say that we do have a really nice structure in Salem where we have professional development 4 times a year for the health teachers that Alyssa, as part of her role as the coordinator, facilitates. But she's going to talk a lot more about what the details of that professional development have been, as well as the process for selecting a curriculum. Alyssa, you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you guys for letting me speak about health education, which I value so much. So we've had a lot to take on with this grant. I think, starting 3 years ago with kind of inconsistency in health education in middle school, compared to the high school with very veteran teachers, along with, the new frameworks that is a very different structure than the traditional frameworks that DESE had. So kind of taking that shift in health education and then building what we had, developing new, and then moving forward was really important. And I think this grant provided the opportunity for the leadership in that, where the coordinator was able to really take all the tasks and the goals, organize them, and get them done. So I'm excited to share the work that the health team has done in the past 2 years. Ooh. Okay, so our first kind of goal was developing a scope and sequence, and then changing also our assessments to not just a knowledge base, but a functional knowledge base assessments where kids are developing skills, right? There's 7 main skills that are outlined in the new frameworks. How do we assess them? What do we look for during assessment? And is that aligned 6th through high school? So we took a lot of time working on vertical alignment. This is just an example. Our decision making is the first skill that's outlined in the new frameworks. So taking, what does it look like when we make a decision, right? So by the end of 8th grade, a goal, right, the end of grade outcome would be that they use a decision model, decide model, which is a graphic organizer where they choose a specific decision, kind of go through options, navigate positive and negatives, and then are able to come up with a decision. At the high school level, and we talk about this in 8th grade, we remove that kind of graphic organizer, right? Their thoughts should be, when I read a scenario, am I able to work through the decide model? I can obviously make notes and you can write down those things, but we're looking at this skill as something that is more independent. And then really driving the reflection, like, why was this important to me? What values do I have that guide those decisions? So yeah, a lot of the time was spent kind of breaking down each of the skills and collaborating and creating vertical alignment from 6th through 8th grade, which is really great. And we are able to develop, skill-based assessments aligned with clear scoring criteria and jump rope, which is not anything we had 2 years ago, which is really, really skill-based driven assessments, which is really great. Oops. I just want to speak to our opportunity to work with Lighthouse. They are the best. They know a lot about this new framework. Holly Hepburn is the person that works and owns Lighthouse. She worked with the Department of Education to develop the new frameworks. So when we went to professional development, we were talking to the person that really knew what to do when switching to this new framework. So our PD sessions, working with them, assessment and health education, humanizing pedagogy strategies in health education, dedicated consulting time. She really worked with us and looked at our scope and sequence and helped build out what it looked like. And then some of our, professional development that's coming in is trauma-informed strategies in health education. I really want to shine a light. The topics that we cover in health education can be, traumatic and triggering for students. So approaching those conversations with students provides them the opportunity to learn and also feel safe while learning them. And then access to health education, designing health education for students with disabilities. We've had an opportunity specifically at Collins Middle School that we work with students in an adaptive health space. And I think at this point we're going to take kind of what we've done with, health education and adapt it and scaffold it to do a vertical alignment with students with disabilities, which I'm really excited about. Oop, this goes faster, I think. Okay, so our curriculum selection, it took a while. We did it. We looked at Department of Education put out a curriculum guide last year and then an update in July. And so in consideration, a lot of the curriculum that was outlined in the guide was very organized and easy to read, which took a good portion of our work out of kind of guessing who do we go with, right? So a lot of our work that we did, our evaluation process included meeting with sales representatives. We did a lot of lesson comparisons. So we utilized opportunities for like 90-day subscriptions, and then really pinpointed, right? Outlined 2 different lessons from each and then decided which would be best from a lens of what we were looking for. Reviewing each curriculum through a lens of equity, inclusion, and sustainability financially, which is important. And then we decided on Health Smart. We felt like it was best aligned with our priorities. It uses inclusive language, examples of diverse relationships, and lessons on respect and identity to create health curriculum intent to support all students, which is really, really important to us. Yeah, okay, we'll go back. I'm going to come back, but we'll talk about our next kind of thing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Actually, we're going to reverse a little bit and talk a little bit about supporting mental health. So the grant also helps to support our mental health initiative through Cartwheel. For the last 2 years, this grant has fully funded Salem Public Schools portion of our Cartwheel contract. So for you who might be new, that's our telebehavioral health partner who provides rapid access to therapy and therapeutic services for students. They're able to provide those services in multi-languages, multi-race therapists. They've been a great partner, and so this grant has funded Salem Public Schools portion. What I want to highlight here is some really great emerging data coming out of our partnership with Cartwheel. And this is just sort of scratching the surface. We were able to work with our partners at Cartwheel to crunch the numbers. And what we're seeing is some pretty significant numbers, reduction in chronic absenteeism for our students who receive Cartwheel services, as well as a reduction in suspension. And so this is really just initial findings. We're also working with the Brookline Center, who co-funds the partnership. They are working with the Department of Public Health on a giant DPH grant to provide telebehavioral health services. They are also doing a multi-year study to be able to really look at impact. And so we hope to come back at some point to talk to the committee about those studies when we have more information, but we're seeing some really exciting preliminary data. Youth Voice has been supported through this grant as well, and I'm representing Taylor McDonald's work tonight. We're really excited to have Taylor. Her work has been moved into the Student Support Department, and so I really see it as a nice fit with the student supports. And the Youth Voice, many of you have already heard about our YPAR work, our Youth Voice Participation Action Research. And so There are really 3 cycles. A lot of this work is happening during the out-of-school time. But students right now are in cycle 2. Cycle 1 is where they establish trusting relationships. They really establish, they sort of find their community. Cycle 2 is where they are able to look at a problem of practice, something that's really impacting them, start doing the research and find the data, look at root cause, and then they get to take action. So many of you have been at our youth summit, our Student Voice Summit. This year it will be at Saltonstall on May 21st. So you'll be hearing about that later on this spring, but we're excited to be able to hear about what the research our kids have been doing. Taylor tells me many of the topics have been SEL related. I think the kids at Collins are looking at how do we increase seat time for kids around academic learning. A couple of the schools are grappling with how do we help settle conflict on the playground. New Liberty is continuing their work on homelessness in the community. So they're grappling with real things, and we need to start really listening to our kids and figuring out how we're going to incorporate that work during the school day into the structures. So expect an invite on the Youth Voice work. The grant also provides funding support for our Youth Voice 21C internship. And so we have high school interns in our 21C programs, so our after-school programs, and they are acting as group leaders. Alyssa is our coordinator for our 21C high school interns, and so she also provides mentorship and guidance. Right now we have 12 high school students, actually during the summer we had 12 high school students during the summer programs. They were able to get some observation and coaching and feedback, as well as had some time for post-secondary planning and networking opportunities. Right now, we have 10 high school interns in 4 of our out-of-school time programs and our grades 3 through 8. They get their monthly workshops, get coaching and feedback, and the post-secondary planning. And I think one of the biggest pieces of information that I want to share is that right now we have 6 alumni from this program currently employed in our after-school programs as group leaders. So it's really pipeline work that we're talking about. And we have one of our current interns who's been hired for the summer at the Y. At the Y. So when we talk about really going upstream and finding the kids who we want to be teaching our kids in the future, this is the kind of work that we need to be looking at, and it's exciting. The last thing we wanted to share, I'm going to invite Alyssa back up because she is leading a Youth Voice Health Academy. Coming up.
I just want to share this really exciting opportunity. I don't think that this is often an opportunity for students. I think when we look at wellness, many understand wellness and health, what comes at a cost with a gym membership in our adult life. So kind of transitioning wellness and having kids understand the spectrum and what it looks like and how to invest in a young age, making this skill really important into an adulthood. So our goal, it's primarily a project-based learning kind of activity support group where we're going to have the ability to connect. Students will explore all areas of health and learn how to strive for overall wellness. So they'll participate in fitness classes, nutrition and cooking, strategies for emotional regulation, and connect with peers to promote positive change in health and wellness. Our goal is for them to take the opportunity to really assess what they've learned, analyze what they learned, and then create a survey for students to give feedback on how we can utilize more opportunities for wellness in their day. I think, again, I'm going to talk about Collins Middle School, so I'm most familiar with, but what does it look like if we have a fitness center? How can we utilize that more in our day? How does health education, is it just pigeonholed to health education, or can we do more nutrition? Can we do more opportunities for yoga, right? So there's a big spectrum there, and I think there's a lot of opportunity, and it's really important for students to experience this, but then also get feedback and buy-in from their community to build up wellness throughout the whole thing. So I'm really excited for this. I believe that's... Any questions?
We'll open it up to members. Any questions? Yeah. Member Stott.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I hear a lot about these programs from my Collins Middle School student that I have, but it's great to see the data behind it as well and hear about the additional stuff that's being added. I had one question on the chart for the cartwheel update. Just want to make sure, like, our contract usage, how does that work? Because I see like 107 remaining. Is that like for a long term, or are we just not having people utilize the service? Or
So when I did that slide, it was right before February break. So we already have had a month, and I probably should have gotten the usage date, but we have 200 referrals by the end of June 30th. So we're actually right on track for our contract usage, and I'd be happy to get that to you by the end of the committee meeting in terms of how many we've used so far to date. I think when I did that slide, it was like February 12th.
I'm curious if I may ask, like, how are those, is it facilitated, like who gets to utilize one of those, I guess, sessions, like is it through a Connects coordinator or a counselor? A referral situation, or can a parent or family or student ask?
I'm really glad you asked that, actually. So it can be a couple of different ways. We originally started and we provided the information to our school adjustment counselors and our City Connects coordinators. So primarily, it's that base. It's those folks who are identifying families and offering it to families. Starting last July, what was it, Chris? Because Chris helped me get it out there. We have a family interest form, so if a family wants to self-identify, we have a way to do that. And so we have put that out, and every time we put it out, we get a surge of family that raises their hand and say, we want in. And so we help facilitate that for them as well. It's an insurance-based service, and so, but it's very convenient, and it is very quick, and we are able to find therapists for kids who match the family's sort of wishes pretty quickly. And so they also are insurance blind. If there are families that are underinsured or don't have insurance at all, we have pro bono cases based on our Cartwheel contract. So families can raise their hand, students can raise their hand, although we don't have a form necessarily for students to use, but they're able to say, hey, I need some help, and Cartwheel would be one of our first go-to if telebehavioral health is their thing. It's not everybody's thing. We have amazing partners in our community for in-person, and we utilize them all the time too. A couple of different ways. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question?
It does, if I may. Just one more follow-up with that. So great to hear that, they could put their hand up.
Yeah.
Curious is it enough? Like, if we were constantly kind of selling this program, making students aware of this program, because I think doing that removes a lot of stigma around programs like this, and we really should be advocating for or making it available and awareness of the program. Would we need more contract seats for it, or licenses, or however the contract usage works?
Yeah, I think we could look at it. When we, the first 2 years that we contracted for 250, and we just barely made that number. And so I wasn't willing to say, we went down to 200, first of all, because that's what we could afford, but also because we weren't necessarily reaching the 250 mark, even with aggressive sort of recruitment for it. That was before we put out the family interest form, before that was established. So, it's as much as we can afford right now because it's grant funded. I think we're going to have to get really creative if we want to extend the contract beyond June 30th. We're going to have to be seeking grants and other places. So we're keeping our ears out all the time. Chris and I will connect, and our hope is that we're, the first of the month, we're putting that family interest form back on the socials, and we're getting it out in newsletters and things like that. And that may, we may be able to get more referrals that way, but I think we're probably on track to just meet our contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Member Miranda.
Thank you so much for all that's gone into this work, the whole team. Can you just speak a little bit about the funding aspect? I'm a little bit confused because I'm hearing that they accept insurance, but then I'm also hearing that we're using the grant to kind of fund this. So is there double dipping that's happening, or what's happening there?
No, the contract is, with the contract, we have a Salem-specific team, a case manager who works with us to partner around access and case management. It provides the rapid access to, so it provides the extra funds that Cartwheel needs to be able to recruit and pay, I think, therapists at a rate probably differently than other organizations who are just based on insurance. So yes, it uses the family insurance, but our contract alongside Brookline Center provides the professional development, the parent workshops, the monthly, if not bi-monthly parent workshops. We have at our disposal consultation around psychiatric issues. So if there's a case that comes to me that we're sort of worried about, not quite sure, I can call and have consultation immediately. So there's some extra things around it and not just the therapy. I also think that the model that they have, especially for our youngest learners, around parent guidance, they don't do individual telebehavioral health with kids under 3rd grade, with a few exceptions, but they do provide parent guidance to parents to be able to help support parents in the process of parenting their child through social emotional, issues.
To that, I guess I'm curious, and maybe for another time, but I'm curious about what kind of like autonomy or ability we would have to kind of see what it is that the community is saying that they want, and potentially have like parent workshops here, like in the schools and things like that. So I'm just curious about that. And then I have 2 more questions, wondering if there's a list of providers in the area that we provide to families that are interested in therapy. And then the second question is, are the interns in the 21C program being paid a stipend or anything like that through the grant?
Okay, so I'll take the first one, and I think Alyssa can help me. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, so the first question was, do we provide a list to families? I think that there is a list that I probably should look at on our website. The approach that we take is that when families need something, we talk to them about what their needs are and help match them with the right organization. And that could be based on insurance. It could be based on availability of therapist. It really depends. We try and personalize that approach. I don't think we just say, here, family, here's a list of places. I think we know our community organizations pretty well, and I happened to have visited a few recently because I hadn't visited them before. And to be able to say, like, this might be a good match for you. We know the organizations that take Mass Health, and we know the organizations that don't take Mass Health. We know the organizations that have bilingual therapists, and we know the organizations that don't. And so, we have to make sure that we can serve our kids. Individualize that approach. So, does that make sense? And then I'm going to back out and give the second question.
It's a quick one. Yeah. The interns are paid a stipend. That's true for lots of interns across our system, and it's a $16 an hour wage, which is just slightly higher than minimum wage. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Member Hoffman.
I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you, because all the work that you do has helped my family and other families that I know, and it has really taken down the stigma of mental health. I see that talking to my son's friends, to other families in the community. It is so important, and it's so valuable, and I just appreciate you for taking this on, because as a parent, and when I needed Cartwheel, you offered that. It was offered to me, and it was a great help for us during a hard time. And I think that families should be confident that they can call. And I know kids can also reach out, right? Isn't there a number you have that they can, or one of my friend's kids would tell me about it. I don't know about it, so this might be new to you too. But apparently they texted or called and said that their friend was having trouble.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Somebody came in.
That's our Sandy Hook Promise
really
work, sure.
Important, and it's something that right now in society we need, because we need to rely on community to help us through these hard times. And starting at this young age of students, to get them confident with, this is just something you go through. Like, it's okay, we got your back. Like, it's hugely important, and it's a passion of mine, and I hope we always find a way to fund this, and it should just, I don't know. You're doing a great job. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well,
all
it
of
is
you.
a community effort. We have a committee full of people who care about kids at their core, and so we're just trying to make it work. So, thank you.
Member Cornell?
I echo everything that Member Hoffman says. Thank you all so much for all the work you do. I have just one question about data. Just when I'm thinking about which of our most vulnerable kids and families are accessing the services that we have. So I'm just wondering if Cartwheel can provide us some data about the demographics of folks who are using the services that we're offering.
Yep, I can actually, I have that data at my fingertips. We have a dashboard where I'm able to break down the demographic data pretty quickly.
All right. I would love to see
Sure.
that. Thank you.
No problem.
Can I ask about Lighthouse? So this was came from the list recommended by the state, and how did you select them to be?
Yeah,
the
Lighthouse
partner?
and I also, I can bring these guys up again. Lighthouse and then Walker School are the two vendors that the department chose as vendors to help support the work. So Walker is helping us support around newcomers and students with experiencing homelessness, and Lighthouse is supporting the comprehensive health and PE. Do you want to say anything else about that? Walker, Lighthouse?
Yeah, it was recommended through the
Yeah.
Department of Education.
I think that they had a vendor process and pretty much chose it for us. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.
Yeah, well, I'll turn over to Elizabeth first, and then I'll do. Okay. Do you want to go?
Sure. Good evening. I have two items tonight. The first is a budget transfer request, which there is a brief memo in your packet. As you'll recall, this request of $3,594 is below the threshold of $15,000 where we can post the transfer before coming to the school committee for approval. However, because this is moving funds from non-personnel to personnel, we always bring that to the committee. So New Liberty has asked to move $3,594 from its contracted services to its stipend line to provide end-of-year stipends for its staff. So I offer that to you for consideration. That is the budget transfer memo. I'm happy to take questions about that, or I can continue on with my.
Continue on.
Okay. Also on the agenda, I wanted to share a brief update on our budget development process. Since our last meeting on February 9th as a full committee, we've had 3 public budget forums. We had one on February 11th that was online, and we had over 50 people log on to participate. We had another on February 26th that was for staff of the Salem Public Schools, and we had over 40 staff members participate. And the most recent and final budget forum was held on Monday evening at the high school in person. It was smaller than the other two. We had about 10 to 12 people in attendance. We did provide translation at all of these forums, and for the in-person forum, we had childcare available. We've also made presentations to the Special Ed Parent Advisory Committee, the English Language Parent Advisory Committee, the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Committee, the Student Advisory Committee, and the Superintendent met with his Teacher Advisory Committee on Thursday. So this is all in service to ensuring a robust community engagement in the conversation about what we prioritize for next year's budget. We're in the process of compiling the questions that were posed at each of these forums, which we will respond to and then post so that anyone who wasn't available to participate in the forums can at least read some of the questions that were asked. And we're still accepting questions, comments, and feedback at spsbudget@salemk12.org. So for just 2 more minutes, I'll share that we are now, in addition to compiling the questions and responses, we are preparing for a final round of meetings. We have a finance subcommittee meeting scheduled for the 18th, which is next week. We have a final conversation with principals and department heads scheduled for the 19th to get even more input and conversation about what will be in next year's budget. We will present a proposal to you on April 6th at our regular meeting, and we will hold our budget hearing for the public on Monday, April 13th. And at that meeting, one of the questions that came up was, what should the public expect at the budget hearing? And so at that hearing, typically, we make a very brief presentation responding to any questions that come up between the April 6th presentation and the 13th budget hearing, and then we leave the podium open for public comment, questions, and feedback. So that is my brief update, and both Deputy Superintendent Carboni, Superintendent Reich, and we're all available for questions, conversations, and we do encourage input, again, at spsbudget@salemk12.org. And that is my update. Thank you.
Any questions? Budget? No. Great.
Okay, MSBA, just as a note to the committee, what we've decided to do is alternate school committee meetings. One meeting a month we'd have an update on the merger between Carleton and Saltonstall, and the other would be MSBA updates. I do just want to make a note about the merger. I have a meeting with Spanish-speaking families at the 2 schools this Thursday to answer questions that families may have. Laura and her team have organized, so it'll be a Spanish-speaking meeting with families who may have outstanding questions about all aspects related to the merger. The MSBA update, I think the biggest thing to note is the mayor has shared this in some of his communication that on Wednesday, February 25th, the MSBA board voted to approve the Salem High School project to replace the existing high school. That's a big step in the process, so all systems are a go. With the next step regarding is the debt exclusion vote to fund the project, which is scheduled for May 5th, 2026. There is a building committee meeting on March 19th from 6 to 8 in the school committee chambers, and then the next one after that is April 16th. There's a lot of community dialogue and meetings that are upcoming, including Design Day. There'll be a big team who will be talking about the new high school at Design Day, but then a series of other community events that the mayor and other members of the building committee will be present at to answer questions and share information about the new project. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
That covers it.
I'll just roll into Design Day, which I want to remind folks that was canceled due to snow. We are back on for this Saturday. We're hoping everybody can be there from 11 to 2 at Collins Middle School. It's a very interactive day. We'll have childcare. It is not a stand and deliver presentation, I can assure you. Very interactive, dynamic, people moving from station to station, dropping ideas that they have about what the future of schools can be in the Salem Public Schools. We hope you can join us. We really encourage students to come. And if students come, they will get a civic engagement certificate that they can put on their resume. They have to be here at least 2 hours to earn that. But it's open to parents, staff, and students. And we hope to see. We hope there's no snow. Mayor, could you promise me of that? Okay, we're all done. And then number 2, it'll be again from 11 to 1, and we hope to see 11 to 2. We hope to see everybody there this weekend, and then hopefully root on Salem High School basketball in the championship of Division III later that evening. So, I think you have a hand raised over there, Mayor. A pinky raised over there.
Yeah, Deputy Superintendent.
Dr. Strike isn't going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are scheduling some celebratory farewell moments for our esteemed leader, and we thought we've heard from so many community members wanting to say farewell to Dr. Strike, and we thought that the Design Day was a great opportunity for that. So we're going to have a big cake with his photo on it. We're going to have a poster where people can leave messages. They can come have a piece of cake, shake his hand, and say whatever parting words they would like to him. And then they can go in and they can enjoy. They can enjoy Design Day. So I just wanted to say that to the community who might be watching tonight. We did send out a notification on Parent Square about that today. And we'll be doing something different for staff. More to come on that. But I did want to mention that to the community. What are all the giggles about?
I have no idea.
I know. Me? Oh.
Yeah, he's like angry.
If cake will get people there, sure, there'll be cake there. All right, the last thing I want to share is I do want to wish the Salem High School basketball team best of luck tomorrow night as they move on to the playoffs. And I also want to shout out to Alexia Coleman, who was second in New England in wrestling. Major accomplishment. And maybe we could bring her to a future. She's already been to the school committee once this year, but I do just want to shout out, there isn't a better representative of the Salem Public Schools. And we also should also shout out Grant Dwyer as well, who had all kinds of swimming accolades this year as well. So we want to make sure we acknowledge our students are doing great things, both on the sports field, but and then of course our drama program is moving on in the competition in, I think it's called the Massachusetts, what is it called? The Massachusetts MSCF, yes. It's a short play. I got a chance to see a sneak preview. It was fabulous. And they were awarded, or they're moving on in the competition, which I think is this weekend as well. Am I right about that, Chris?
I believe it's March 14th, yes.
I think it's this weekend as well. They're moving on to the next round of the drama competition. So, did I leave anything out? Okay. There's just too much to celebrate. So with that, turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Thanks. Next item on our agenda are subcommittee reports. Do we have any reports from subcommittees? Member Miranda.
I don't have a subcommittee report, but just in terms of the superintendent evaluation, are we skipping that?
Oh, I just, that's what I shared with you, this document.
Okay, got it. I didn't know if there was going to be an update from the vice chair on that, or if we're...
Sure, I've collected almost everyone's evaluations, and the plan is to present those at the superintendent's final meeting.
Sorry, thank you.
You're welcome. So you can, something to build on for your...
Pretty good.
your Any other subcommittee reports? Seeing none. All right. We'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the superintendent's search. Hope that there's just a couple of quick slides for folks at home to see. So I appreciate there's been a lot of interest and questions around what the process is going to be moving forward. And there's a series of steps that we're going to outline this evening for the community. We will be setting up a separate page on the website, salemk12.org/search, where this information and links to information relevant to the search process will live, so people will be able to identify it. I want to let folks know that we are planning to take advantage of the strength of the district. We've heard a lot about the celebrations, the achievements, the strong position that we're in, to try to move in a relatively quick fashion to be able to find the next leader for Salem Public Schools before the start of next school year. So the search process outlined here takes us through the summer with the goal of having a new superintendent in place for the start of the school year. Briefly, I'll run through this. So at tonight's meeting, We are going to discuss the appointment of the interim superintendent and deputy superintendent, the formation of an ad hoc subcommittee of the school committee members to provide the support and logistical work for the process, and the establishment of a screening committee to evaluate the applicants, but not the appointment of members of that screening committee. And then we will also designate a search consultant. The search consultant that's being proposed is the Collins Center for Public Management. They were the same search consultant that was used by the district in 2019. They're affiliated with UMass Boston. They have a history with the district and with the position, and they've provided a proposal and a scope of services that have been that are included in the packet of materials that were with the meeting agenda. Throughout the month of March, the ad hoc subcommittee would finalize the constitution of the screening committee and open up applications and review those applications. The school committee at our March 23rd meeting will approve what's called the position profile, the job description. A copy of the 2019 job description is also in the materials. The ad hoc subcommittee will work with the search consultant to refine that in time for the committee to take a vote on it on the 23rd. With the goal of posting the position by the end of March. At the April 6th school committee meeting, the screening committee members would be appointed by the full school committee. The number of members on the screening committee is going to be a topic of discussion for the ad hoc subcommittee to help establish, but the search consultant's recommendation is, given the shorter nature of this search, that it not be a very overly large screening committee. Mid-April application deadline for the position, and then the screening committee will conduct its work mid-April through mid-May, with mid-May being the target for the recommendation of finalists, and mid-May through mid-June, the finalist forums and community meetings, so that by the end of June, the committee could select the next superintendent and proceed with onboarding and contract negotiations over the summer, with a target start in August. The search consultants also proposed some preliminary survey work early in the process to help the screening committee evaluate the applicants against both the feedback from the community from that survey process and the position profile approved by the school committee. So this is just a summary of the votes that are also appear in the agenda, but these are the actions for this evening's meeting and discussion. But I'm happy to go back to the overall calendar and timetable if there's any questions or committee members want to discuss that. All right. Member Sott.
Thanks. I can't let it go without saying I think this is a tight timeline. When I first saw it, I want to be transparent that I was concerned that this was quick, but I am confident that we'll be able to meet these dates. I just want to make sure that we are able to be transparent with the public, make sure everyone is up to date. It's great to hear that there's going to be that website created. And I know that everybody wants to hit the ground running with this. And I think if we hit all of these dates and get qualified candidates and everything is perfect, that will be amazing. But I know that it's going to be very difficult. So I guess I'm preemptively thanking everyone for their work that is going to be going into this search process, because it is, again, a very aggressive timeline. And it's not that we don't have anything else going on here in the city. You know, we all have free time on our hands. So I just feel like it had to be said that it is a quicker timeline than has been completed in the past. But I do think it makes the most sense. And I am hopeful that we'll be able to hit it all.
Yeah, I'll just respond by acknowledging it is a quick timeline. I think everyone recognizes it. But I do believe that, you know, we're in a position to be able to attract candidates now that will hopefully allow us to have a successful search. It's worth making the effort rather than waiting a full year and a half and losing out on that. I would also add, you know, there is a lot happening, as you said, Member Stott. We've got the high school project, the consolidation, the relocation of New Liberty School, the start of the new strategic plan, the expansion of dual language. I know, right? Everyone's freaking out now. But it doesn't feel like work that really should be the work of an interim superintendent. Like, that's something that we want someone to have ownership of for many years to come. So my hope is that we're able to find that leader for the district to build on the strong foundation that Dr. Zreich has left behind for us. Member Cornell.
And for community members who were not part of the district, or your kids were young when the search process was happening the last time for Dr. Zreich, those of us who were pretty intimate, following that process or intimately involved with that process, I think those of us who were part of it really know how well the Collins Institute? Center. The Collins Center manages these kinds of hiring processes, and there's a lot of community engagement from a variety of stakeholders, and that's just part of why you have a search firm in to help you manage that. So that's not, the search itself is sort of guided by school committee, but really owned by the search firm, who helps to engage all community stakeholders so that the stakeholders can inform the school committee of what their values are and who they like, and we get all that information via the search firm.
And which reminds me, we do have Bill Lupini from the Collins Center is on Zoom with us, I believe, still. So if there are questions about the scope or about the Collins Center, he's able to answer them tonight, or if members want to reach out to him directly, I can provide his contact information to you as well. Okay. So we'll move on to section 9 of the agenda, which is the motions and resolutions. In our first kind of 2 steps in this process are the appointment of an interim superintendent for the remainder of this school year. And I want to thank and recognize our Deputy Superintendent, Kate Carboni, and Assistant Superintendent Elizabeth Pauley, who have been really critical parts of the leadership team for this district for so many years. I could not think of anybody more ready to step up on such a short notice and help us see through the end of this school year than the Deputy Superintendent and Assistant Superintendent, certainly. So I will entertain a motion to appoint Deputy Superintendent as the interim superintendent and ratify a contract amendment for the interim superintendent's position. Yeah. So the amendment to the contract agreement for the deputy superintendent to be the interim superintendent effective March 27th, 2026 through July 31st, 2026, at which point Ms. Carboni shall return to the position of deputy superintendent unless the parties agree to an extension of the agreement. Ms. Carboni, subject to the supervision and direction of the school committee, shall perform faithfully to the best of her ability the duties of interim superintendent for the term, and shall receive an annualized salary of $245,000 prorated upon execution of the agreement. As of August 1st, Ms. Carboni shall be paid in accordance with the terms of the original contract. So this is the first 2 votes, which is appointment of the interim superintendent and ratification of the contract. And I'll take motions and then open for discussion.
Motion to appoint Deputy Superintendent Kate Carboni as interim superintendent and to ratify the interim superintendent contract.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Miranda. Under discussion? Discussion. Seeing no discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The matter carries unanimous. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
What do you say? Thanks, Steve. He's just handed this to you. Our next two votes is an appointment of the interim deputy superintendent and ratification of the interim deputy superintendent's contract. This contract is an amendment to a memorandum of agreement of amendment to the contract with Ms. Elizabeth Pauley. The superintendent of schools and the school committee employ Elizabeth Pauley as the interim deputy superintendent for a period of time from March 27th, 2026 to July 31st, 2026. As of August 1st, 2026, Ms. Pauley shall return to the position of assistant superintendent for finance and operations unless the parties mutually agree to extend the amendment. Subject to the supervision and direction of the superintendent, Ms. Pauley shall faithfully, to the best of her ability, serve in the duties of the interim deputy superintendent for the term of this agreement, and shall receive an annualized salary of $205,000 prorated to the start date upon execution of the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by member Miranda, seconded by member Cornell. Under discussion. Seeing no discussion, all in favor by show of hands. Any opposed? None opposed. The matter carries unanimously. Thank you, interim deputy superintendent. It's a mouthful. Yes.
Can I just, I do just want to say that we are very much looking forward to serving in these roles. We've already started to transition. I want to thank, Dr. Zreich because he leaves us in such an exceptional position where, things are moving along, and he's really leaves us on solid footing. And so, big shoes to follow for sure. But we will do this in collaboration as a team together with our principals, with department heads, both on the teaching and learning side and the operational side. And I really believe together as a team, we can move the district forward and our number one goal, and I just keep reminding myself of this, is to ensure that all students and staff have a smooth, productive, and joyful end of the school year. It's 3 months. We want to make sure that those three things happen. And we're going to, we know that there are some big projects that we have to manage during that time. The budget, the merger planning for the Sarah Parker Ramon School. We have MCAS coming up. We've got the dual language expansion. We're planning for summits this summer with those teachers. And then we have some negotiations coming up. But I do, Dr. Zreich kept us at the table. We've learned under his leadership, and I feel like we are ready and up for the task. So I want to thank the committee for entrusting us to do this work, this important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next motion and resolution is on the formation of the ad hoc superintendent search subcommittee. So this would be a vote to form the committee, and then the appointment is at the discretion of the chair. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by member Cornell, seconded by member Miranda. Under discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The matter carries unanimously. And I would like to appoint members Bias, Hoffman, and Miranda to the subcommittee, if they're so willing to serve. Okay. Our next item is a formation of the superintendent's screening committee. The specific number of screening committee members and the process for selecting them is going to be at the recommendation of the ad hoc committee. But this is a vote to at least establish it and charge it with the responsibility of screening the applicants for the selection of finalists for the committee's consideration.
Motion to approve.
I second.
All right, motion made by member Cornell, seconded by member Bias. Under discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The matter carries unanimously. And then the last item on motions and resolutions for the superintendent search for this evening is the retention of the Collins Center for Public Management as a search consultant. The scope and contract from the Collins Center were provided to the committee members So if there is a motion to approve that selection.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Miranda. Under discussion. Yep.
I
Member
think
Miranda.
they did a pretty good job last time.
They did okay.
Considering. So, thank you.
Seeing nothing else, no other comments or questions, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, the matter carries unanimously. The next item under motions and resolutions, the naming of the Saltonstall Carlton building to the Sarah Parker Raymond Innovation School.
Motion to approve.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if we could have a discussion before a motion, but I don't know if that's.
Do it. Take a second and then we can go to discussion.
So what is the motion for?
The motion is for third reading.
Okay. And then during that, we can discuss?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay. Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Miranda. Under discussion.
Thank you. I just have a brief statement here. So I just wanted to start by saying that I appreciate that we've had 3 readings to make this decision and to reflect and adjust along the way. During the second reading, it was brought up that we should add innovation to the name, and I voted to do so. But after taking some time thinking about it, I've changed my view. And so just wanted to identify for this body 2 concerns. One is that I worry that adding innovation sends a signal that this school is somehow better than the others. As a district, we're piloting innovation across all of our schools, and we already see that work happening in Collins Middle School, Forest Man, other elementary schools that don't have innovation in the name. And our innovation committee is doing work to talk about innovation in the district. So please come Saturday, March 14th, 11 to 2 at Collins for Design Day. The second concern that I have is I really truly believe that adding innovation takes away from the purpose of this renaming, which is to honor Sarah Parker Raymond. Over time, long names often get shortened, and I don't want the school to end up being called simply the Innovation School. I feel strongly that innovation status is a governance structure. It doesn't require the word to be in the name, and school models may evolve over time, but Sarah Parker Raymond's legacy will remain meaningful for generations. For those reasons, for the third reading, I support naming the school simply the Sarah Parker Raymond School.
Okay. Member Cornell?
I was thinking about this when we did the second read as well. I think for me, one thing that is significant is that innovation status is not a permanent status. We vote on that every few years. And so despite the fact that we have 3 innovation schools, and I don't think it makes sense to go back and change the names of New Liberty Innovation School or Bentley, it may be the right time to stop institutionalizing the word innovation in a building name because it's not permanent. And that's a designation that we vote on. And we could, perhaps we don't vote on that in the future, or perhaps we decide we're just an innovative district and we're not going to rely on innovation status anymore. So sort of the more that I've thought about that, again, I don't think it's worth going back and renaming other schools, but going forward, I don't necessarily think it makes a lot of governance sense to institutionalize the word innovation, even though it is, in fact, a designated innovation school. It's just a particular status. So I sort of feel similarly. And I would be, I'm interested to hear what other members think, but I would be willing to make a friendly amendment back to the original proposition that we had.
Any further discussion? Yep, Member Hoffman.
I just wanted to clarify one thing because the last meeting we talked about school names getting shortened, but I wanted to after thinking about it, and when you're writing the name of a school in a proposal or like a letter to the school, like it should be the full name of the school, and then throughout the written words you could use the abbreviations for. I just didn't want people to think they couldn't shorten. They had to write out for every school whatever. It was just brought to my attention that was a lot for us to ask. So I would like to clarify that that's not the intent. Is to always use it as the name head, and then you can use the abbreviations as you continue to talk.
Do I make a motion to amend?
Do
Or does somebody?
Guidance on how to do that.
Just make a motion to amend the name.
Okay,
Third reading.
so I'd like to make a motion that we amend to name the school the Sarah Parker Ramon School.
I'll second.
Okay. On the amendment, third reading, under discussion, a motion was made by Member Miranda, seconded by Member Cornell. Member Stott.
Just a clarifying question, because it's third time. The first time the word elementary was in there. The second time the word innovation was in there. So this time, are we not having any word in there? We're just having Sarah Parker Ramon School. Is that the motion? Yes. Okay.
Any further discussion on the amendment to third reading? Okay. This is on a vote on the amendment to strike the word innovation from the name. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion on the amendment carries unanimously. On the motion to approve the name for third reading, Sarah Parker Raymond School. All in favor? Any opposed? The matter carries unanimously. And I just want to thank and recognize the members of the family who are also in attendance virtually for being with us this evening and for joining us on this journey. Next item on motions and resolutions is relocation of the New Liberty Innovation School. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
This is a motion to relocate the New Liberty Innovation School for the 2026-2027 school year to the building at 10 Scary Street, the Carlton School building. Is there a second? Okay, motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Hoffman. Under discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, the matter carries unanimously. On the relocation of the Salem Prep High School.
Motion to approve.
Right. A motion to relocate the Salem Prep High School for the 2026-2027 school year to 10 Scary Street, the Carlton School building. Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Hoffman. Under discussion. Member Miranda.
I just wanted to ask, do we have it on our calendar to discuss this at some point? Discuss further? Not. We do. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The matter carries unanimously. Final motion resolution is the budget transfer request.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Member Cornell, seconded by Member Hoffman. Under discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. The matter carries unanimously. Item on the agenda, newsletter items. Do you want Member Cornell?
I just wanted to propose from this meeting that we update the community about the third read on the Sarah Parker Ramon School, update folks on the improvements to graduation and dropout rates, updates on the process and timeline for the interim superintendent, for the superintendent, and an announcement about the interim superintendent and interim deputy superintendent. If there's anything that folks think we should add for today.
Yep, Dr. Zarek.
Yeah, I know it's on my newsletter, but I might suggest adding the New Liberty and Salem Prep information to that.
I'm sorry, I did have that. I just skipped
Oh, okay.
it. Yep. Thank you.
Anything else in the newsletter? Nope. All right. Announcements. Member Miranda.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight that I had the opportunity to attend a meeting with the administration and educator leaders about creating a school community safety team, as some other districts either have already or are in the process of creating as well. And so I'll just briefly explain what that means. Creating a school safety team is a first step to bringing more people into this collective work, which I'll dig into in a second, and ensuring that our students and families feel supported when we're talking about some of the fear that people are living in each day, students and families. And so creating a safe school and learning environment is obviously critical, and we're so lucky to have the educators that we have that are interested in organizing around this effort. So the school safety team's purpose is to educate ourselves about the challenges and opportunities in our community, prepare our communities to respond to federal agencies near our schools, provide support to families who have been impacted by surges, raids, detentions, deportation, and harmful actions in the community, and organize our school communities to defend ourselves in cases of future escalations by the federal government. And again, this is happening. Schools, districts are doing this across the state, and so really glad that our educators brought this to us, and it's clear that they're committed to safety, not just for our students, but also for staff. So just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Member Stott.
Thank you. I just would like to highlight one of our favorite topics on this balmy 60-degree day, snow. So I know we've struggled this season a lot with snow removal, and I'd like to collectively volunteer myself for the school committee to submit any problem areas that you saw this year or concerns that were raised directly to you. Hopefully the City Council will be having kind of an ad hoc meeting when it warms up a little bit to review the priority routes and locations for snow removal. Obviously, we are concerned about students safely getting to school in modes of transportation other than cars, but also making sure bus stops are cleared, pedestrian walkways and crossways are cleared so our students are safely getting to school. There were obviously some really highlighted known areas like Highland Ave, the drop off at the ECC, the area behind the Salt and Salt School. But if there are other areas of concern, please send them directly to me. I will collectively collect them and report back to City Council. Of course, you're all welcome to reach out directly as well, but to kind of make it easier and more concise for them, happy to do that. And never say snow again.
There are no further announcements. Is there another motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Member Hoffman, seconded by Member Cornell. Under discussion, seeing none, all in favor, all opposed. The matter carries unanimously. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.